Yo, what's going on everyone? Welcome back. My name's Will. This is the Women YouTube channel. Gotta hit you with that real quick sales pitch. Get to the end of this video, you enjoy this type of content, think about hitting that subscribe button. Totally free to subscribe. Just sends you a quick little notification whenever I'm posting some new content. If you don't want to subscribe, a like is always really appreciated as well. Now, let's get into today's video. So obviously by the title, we are talking about my 2025 Ford Ranger Raptor. And today I figured since I have a pretty crazy hectic day at work, it would be a good time to kind of take you guys along for the ride. I have a bit of driving today, so I'm driving through like 4 different counties today, so we're definitely putting some good miles on the Ranger Raptor. So I figured it would just be a good day to do like an actual real world test kind of analysis of like fuel economy. So if you guys are looking to pick up a Ranger Raptor for like your light duty work truck and you do a lot of driving, this could be some good information for you guys out there. Now, I know a few people are automatically going to say, you know, don't buy a performance truck if you're worried about fuel economy, and I 100% agree. It's not something that you really should all be worrying about if you are buying, you know, a Ranger Raptor, but the reality of it is everybody always loves to talk about fuel economy. So hell, for me, I drove a Ram TRX as a daily driver that got less than 10 miles per gallon. So for me, the Ranger Raptor is a breath of fresh air. But for other people out there that might not be used to like the V8 truck world and they're cross shopping, or they're looking for their first truck, or they just like the Ranger Raptor in general, I think this could be some good information for them. So I do need to go to the gas station because I'm currently like really low on gas. So I'll show you how much it's costing to actually fill up the truck. I'm going to be pumping in some lower octane. I'm going to do like an 87 octane, but just keep in mind, if you are going to be doing the Ford Performance tune, you got to run at minimum a 91 octane there. So obviously I'll put like the prices up on the screen, then that way you guys can determine how much it would be, you know, for your area. I'm in South Florida, so prices are obviously going to be different throughout like the rest of the country, but just figured this could be a little bit of a fun, kind of informative little video. So I'm gonna get the truck all packaged up here and then we can hit the road. So we are inside the truck now. We have, as you can see, not too much fuel. We have like 37 miles of range right now, and as you can see, this is just kind of like my trip calculator so far. I haven't really reset it. So averaging 16.4 miles per gallon over the, you know, whole lifetime of my truck. I'm gonna go ahead and reset that for today so we could actually calculate everything. And my first stop for today, it's about an hour drive north and it's about 54 miles. So from here to there, round trip 100 miles, and then we have to go a little bit further south from here as well. So I'm thinking in total today it should be around like 200 miles of driving. So let's go ahead, get some fuel in there. We can see how much fuel or how much range per tank we get, and then we can keep moving on with our day. So just pulling up to the gas station now. Let's have a look at the actual fuel cost here. You can see $3.50 for regular 87, $4.70, 89, and it was at $5.50 for premium. So yeah, definitely not today. We're going with the regular. So let's go ahead, fill up. We can find out how much it's gonna cost us. Got myself some fuel. Got some fuel in the truck. Let's see. Alrighty. So it's a little over 17 gallons and a little under 60 bucks. So this is kind of like the average price of fuel in my area right now for regular. I will say that's definitely a ripoff for 93 right now, which is another reason why I didn't want to go with it. Let's go ahead now, turn this off, or turn it on, sorry, a little bit tongue-tied. And then we can see right here, full tank, roughly giving us 329. Like I showed you earlier, my average miles per gallon 16.4. So now with the trip reset, we'll actually see how accurate that is, and we'll just do a little bit of math calculations towards the end. But to give you a little bit more context, as you can see with the screen right now, I am in normal mode. So if you come down here, you could do your mode selectors. You could see I'm in normal. That's where, or how I typically drive my truck like 90% of the time. I really love sport mode, but obviously you're romping on it a little bit more and you get a little bit worse fuel economy. So for daily driving, you know, for work, normal mode keeps me out of trouble and saves a little bit on fuel. And then I also drive in 2 high. We're on the turnpike, so going roughly around 70 miles an hour. Thankfully, don't have too much traffic in front of me. Going southbound, definitely way more traffic. Thank goodness I'm not in that. But yeah, this is typically like my normal commute. It's a lot of highway miles, just driving from job site to job site. Very rarely am I only within like city roads. I can promise you at least once a day I'm getting on some sort of highway to get to a job and then having to jump on the same highway to get back home or get back to the office. On road, Ranger Raptor, super smooth, not really bumpy, not really all too loud. Mine thankfully doesn't have like any sort of crazy rattles or anything like that. Not a lot of NVH, not really any sort of road noise whatsoever from the KO3s. I really do think they're a very good road tire. First time with KO3s. I have used KO2s before, and same thing with those, and I think the KO3s are just an upgraded version of the KO2s. And like I had mentioned before, I drive my Ranger Raptor primarily in normal mode, which is, you know, the most subtle of the modes when you're comparing it to, let's say, sport mode and Baja mode. And even in normal mode, this thing is no slouch. It definitely has a lot of boogie to it. It definitely performs, even in this, you know, calm mode, like I said. But yeah, having the 400 horsepower, definitely the best performing truck in its class in regards to, you know, the power plant and all of that. And if you were to go ahead and get that Ford Performance Tune, which ups it up to another 100 foot-pound-feet of torque and then another 50 horsepower, yeah, that it's a little animal, honestly. It's definitely a Raptor. Don't get it, you know, confused. A lot of people think that, oh, it's just like an appearance package or whatever. Absolutely not. The suspension on the Ranger Raptor, absolutely sick. The power, performance, the delivery, absolutely awesome truck. Did just put out a 10,000 mile update video on the channel. If you haven't seen that yet, go check that out. I kind of do a deep dive into ownership and like some of the issues and like weird little things that just come with the Ranger Raptor, as well as some recalls and stuff like that. So if you want to check out that video, I'll put a link or a card right up here. You can click on that and go check it out. All right, so just wrapped up at my first stop here. So let me go ahead and turn you guys back around now. You can see right up there all the info for trip 2. So far, 56 miles driven, average miles per hour, the time duration, and then our miles per gallon right there. And then a little bit up here, you can see we are back down to 285 miles. So it's calculating all correctly. So next, we're driving back down south. We got another 86 miles to drive, so an hour and a half basically. So let's see if there's any traffic, and that plays into the whole factoring of all of this. But so far, it's all right in line with how I typically, you know, drive and commute. So this is the daily grind right here. So let's go ahead and continue on to the next everybody stop. So I'm just leaving my last stop now. Got about another 45-minute drive home, roughly 35 miles. And then there's our trip calculations. So far, still averaging around that 17 miles per gallon. Got about little under 4 hours of drive time at this point, and so far we are at 157 miles, so little under 200 miles for the day. Yeah, definitely been driving quite a bit today, and as you can see so far, we have gone through half a tank of fuel. So I do get that a lot of people complain about the fuel capacity of the Ranger Raptor. I'm assuming Ford didn't do a bigger tank in here to keep the weight down and make it, you know, obviously like a sportier, lighter truck compared to, let's say, like the F-150 with a larger tank. But yeah, I mean, I totally get it, having a larger tank or having it like an option to pick a larger fuel tank, because I do know a lot of other companies do have an option to go with a larger fuel tank. It would be nice if Ford did offer that. I do know there is aftermarket support if you did want to go with a larger fuel tank. I probably won't
On mine, I don't mind having to fill up, you know, multiple times a week, but I do get the whole idea of it being a little bit annoying, especially if you are, you know, going out like overlanding or something like that, and or in the desert and you're running and you don't want to have to carry a bunch of like jerry cans and stuff. I do get that. Would be nice to have a little bit larger of a tank, but yeah, for me, I'm just using this as a commuter. So yeah, let me get home, then we can wrap this.
All right, everybody, so it's the following morning now. Got home a little bit later. It was dark outside, didn't want to be filming in the dark. You guys couldn't really see all too much, so here we are, following morning. So let's go ahead, check out the little trip calculator inside the truck. Quite a bit of driving yesterday, quite a bit of idle time, as I did hit rush hour on the way home. So let me turn this down. But as you can see here on the trip calculator, a little bit under 5 hours of total time in the vehicle yesterday. And of course, a lot of that was probably idle time. Probably a good 45 minutes of that was idle time. Saying average miles per hour, 38. Most of it was highway, so most of it honestly was around that, you know, 70 miles per hour point, but obviously there was a little bit of driving in there. Then 192.9, so let's say 193 miles driven yesterday with an average miles per gallon of 17.8. So if we compare that to trip one, which has been like my full-time driving, yeah, we can see 16.4 miles per gallon versus yesterday averaging the 17.8. And obviously this is with way more city driving during trip one, so city driving is obviously going to give you a little bit less, but yesterday with primarily highway driving, we were at the 17.8. So honestly pretty accurate for, you know, what they advertise, with 16 being the city average and then 18 being the highway average. Then they say, you know, the average of the two is 17. So then you can see right up here the fuel a little bit under the half a gallon there, and it's saying 157 mile range on here. I think when I filled it up it was around 320, so we're a little bit under that estimate right there. But yeah, I know obviously this isn't like the most scientific little experiment here, but figured go ahead and give you guys some real world estimates for fuel economy on the Ranger Raptor. In my opinion, I'm biased, I'm coming from an absolute gas guzzler of a truck. This is a breath of fresh air, considering I can run regular fuel 87 octane and I'm in, you know, 16 to 17 miles per gallon versus where my TRX was at 8. And again, this is all just, you know, information. This isn't, you know, something that most people are going to be considering it when you're buying a performance truck. You know, obviously if you want, you know, fuel economy, get a EcoBox truck. If you want performance, you know, you got to give up that economy to go for a performance truck. It just is what it is. And another thing to consider is if you are running the premium fuel like 91 or 93 octane, you might actually end up squeaking out a little bit more range per gallon. But I don't really know like the science behind that, but you know, some people will say that yeah, if you run a better fuel you might get a little bit better fuel economy, so take that into consideration as well. And to piggyback off of that, for if you're looking to get the Ford Pro-Cal tune, which I probably will here very soon, you do have to run the premium fuel with that tune. So you're running a minimum 91 or 93 octane if you don't have 91, right? So based on just, you know, the prices that I saw at my local gas station yesterday, which I will say were definitely a little bit inflated for premium. They were like, what, $5.50 or something like that per gallon versus the $3.50 that I paid. Mustang cold start, hold on. My neighbors just picked up an S650 Mustang 5.0, so that's what you heard, it wasn't mine. But like I was saying, with filling up using the premium fuel to, you know, use with the Pro-Cal tune, with the gas station that I went to yesterday, would have roughly been about $20 more to fill up, and, you know, just about 20, let's just call it that. But, you know, that's just something to consider as well. So if you're going to be driving, you know, a lot, and, you know, you do want the Ranger Raptor, but you still are a little fuel economy conscious, you know, maybe skip out on the Pro-Cal. In my opinion, I think it's worth the extra miles per gallon. So yeah, you only live once. It's 20 bucks. So, you know, that's just my 2 cents, but everyone has a differing opinion. So yeah, just thought we'd just go over a little bit here. I know this wasn't the most like scientific experiment or whatever, but it is just some real world use of the Ranger Raptor. I drive the hell out of this thing. That's why it has almost 11,000 miles in only a few short months. But yeah, just thought I would share this little bit of info with you guys. And when the time comes, when I switch out these tires and wheels for the larger tires and wheels that I have coming, I'll probably do another update video like this to give you guys real world, you know, fuel economy once you have larger wheels and tires on your Ranger Raptor. And one more thing before we end this video, I figured I'd come over here and show you my window sticker so you can see right up there all the fuel economy details. Fuel economy combined 17 with 16 city, 18 highway. So we're more or less right on par there. A lot of times these are like total like BS numbers, but for me anyway, so far that is very, very accurate. Roughly saying 5.96 gallons per 100 miles. So yeah, that's pretty accurate as well. And if you want to just see full shot of the window sticker, there it is, 57.9. I still can't believe the price I got on mine at 54,000. So yeah, pretty happy with that. But yeah, guys, that's more or less going to do it for this one. Quick video today. Wanted to post something for you guys before we take the little Thanksgiving break here. So happy Thanksgiving to all my US people out there. If you enjoyed the video, hit that like button. If you want to stay tuned for more content, think about hitting that subscribe button. As always, guys, my name's Will. Thanks for chilling with me today, and I'll see you all in the next one. Later, everybody.